Like your outfit.
Thank
It's color.
Like my outfit.
Ah. It is April Fool's. You look good from the top.
Why do I never know people?
Like to call to order Upper Allen Township Board of Commissioners meeting for April 1st, 2026. We will first have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have the roll call?
Commissioner Fairchild,
Present.
Commissioner Overly Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Martin,
Present.
Commissioner Walsh,
Present.
Commissioner Clark.
Present.
By way of President's announcements, I would like to announce that tonight would note that we will be signing a letter of support recognizing April 2026 as Pennsylvania 8/11 Safe Digging Month. Pennsylvania 8/11 has long played a critical role in promoting safe excavation practices and protecting underground utilities across the Commonwealth. In 2025, the organization received 1 million excavation notifications and transmitted approximately 6 million notices to utility owners and operators, a reflection of its essential service in safeguarding both infrastructure and public safety. By endorsing this initiative, we reaffirm the township's commitment to encouraging responsible digging practices and remind residents and contractors to contact 8/11 3 business days before any excavation. And this meeting will be live streamed for those who wish to attend virtually. A recording of the meeting will also be available afterward for anyone who cannot join in real time. I'd like to remind speakers to speak directly into the microphone. First item on our agenda is consideration approval of the minutes of Board of Commissioners meeting for March 4th, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I move we have adopted the minutes.
Okay, any discussion or questions about the minutes?
I had a question on page 23. It talked about the dog park internet fee for $101.58.
I think
What
you're on the
do,
bills,
what did you say?
the minutes.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. Maybe
sorry.
it's buried in the minutes somewhere.
Why are they moving so fast?
We do have a very good set of minutes, I think, in general. But anyway, any other questions, comments about minutes? We ready? Well, we do have a motion.
Motion
Okay,
second.
second. I would
All those in
second the
favor?
motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion, the minutes are approved. Next, we have President's recognition of visitors. And it's also the time that we allow the public to speak on issues that aren't on the agenda. So I see a couple people that have signed the list in order of, I think, speaking or topics not on the agenda. I believe we have Paul Matisse about the McCormick Road Culvert Bridge. Yeah, please come forward if you can.
My wife and I live on McCormick and Ford Farm and McCormick, right at the corner there. And we walk and bike McCormick often. And we saw the culvert being replaced. And so the other day we're walking, we saw the guide rail going in. And it's a historic district, right? And when you walk McCormick from the new park all the way to the Nauman Farm, there are several tributaries that feed into the Yellow Breeches. And I don't want to say that none of them do, but I think that none of them have guide rail. They have the yellow delineators, right? It's 25-mile-an-hour road. And all of a sudden, we notice many, many feet of bright silver guide rail that looks like something that would go on a PennDOT highway. And it's after the fact, I recognize that. But we and others that see it out of our windows every day wonder if there's anything that could be done to make it more attractive. I know that PennDOT would allow something, I don't know if it's a state road or if it's a PennDOT road, township road.
Right.
I know the guide rail's already in. There's all weathering steel that could have been used. There's wood guide rail that could have been used in a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It could be painted. And it's certainly, I just don't understand why it's so long and so pronounced in such a beautiful area where all around it is the Yellow Breeches Creek and the historic nature of the creek. And I didn't know if that was considered at all, or if, who did, Mar Allen did the culvert? I know Kinsley's trucks were down there. I don't know who did the guide rail. But I do know from experience that guide rail can be removed very, very quickly and reinstalled. And I'd like to make a plea that it gets removed. I mean, it's so unattractive and out of character with what that area is. And driving here today, we went over 3 different culverts where tributaries feed the Yellow Breeches, and none of them have guide rail except for that one. So I don't know if anything can be done. I'd like to know what procedures I could follow to make a formal request that something is done.
Several board members share your concern, or at least 2 of them do. The engineer isn't here tonight. They would have been responsible for the bid documents and the design of the guide rail, I believe, or the contract engineer, C.S. Davidson. But I see Chaldeans. I was hoping staff can give us some guidance on this issue.
There we go. Okay, so I did speak with the engineer. Commissioner Walsh did inquire about that. And I know that they are looking into other options that the commissioners would need to consider that may be at an additional cost. The requirement of the guide rails themselves, because it's a 2-lane, and what we have to follow in regards to what PennDOT lays out for roads. I believe it is a township road. However, we still have to follow certain rules. So that requires us to have the guide rail. If it would be a 1-lane or 1-way, we wouldn't need the guide rail. But that will be something that we will look into to see if we have any options. I like the painting of it, at least to subdue the shiny, the silver look, but we are looking into that.
The problem with paint, of course, is that
It wears off.
It wears off,
Yeah.
right? And there are so many other alternatives that I know PennDOT would approve. And a grant was used for that construction, I believe, was it not?
Yeah, Small Bridges Grant.
So so the township did have expenses in it. It wasn't all, yeah. Well, it'd be great for the residents not to have to look at that. None of the other culverts have it. So is that because they're grandfathered in, so to speak? I mean, if PennDOT requires guide rail around culverts, why wouldn't it be at all culverts?
I can't speak to other areas, but I do know when we're working on a current project, we have to follow those rules at those times. So that's
Yeah.
where we're at with that particular area and project.
Yeah, and shame on us for not being here in the initial stages when maybe the historical society or the historical board or whatever it is could have considered the appearance of that before it was done. But so I know it's after the fact, but if anything could be done, it sure would be appreciated by those that have to look at it every day, all day.
Yeah, I was taken back by the length of it, particularly on the creek side.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I mean,
25 miles an hour.
yeah, it's like for a 50-mile-an-hour road to me, but
Right.
I'm a layman. It would benefit all of us to educate ourselves This
Yeah.
the PennDOT rules, what actually is required and what
But I'm
option.
glad it's under consideration. I'm glad it's being talked about.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have two people who wish to speak about the noise ordinance. Is it Lillian Shear?
Hi there, I'm Lillian Schreier and I'm here with my husband, Jim Marshall, who's over there. I brought letters for each of the board members. I brought 8 copies, so if I
Okay,
could.
thank you.
Give it to the secretary? Yes. If it's all right with the commission, I'd just like to start reading from the letter, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Dear Commissioners of Upper Island Township, we sincerely appreciate the opportunity to raise the issue of noise ordinance enforcement at the Commission's meeting today on Wednesday, April 1st, 2026, because we know that noise enforcement is currently an issue of concern, not just in our neighborhood, but in other areas of Upper Island Township. And for reference, we live in Winding Hills. I'm probably the longest resident of Winding Hills, one of the first 10 houses built there. I've lived there since 2005, November of 2005, so over 20 years. First, we wish to applaud the Upper Island Township Commissioners for setting forth certain de facto acts of conduct in Section 181-2.5B of its noise ordinance that are unlawful. The concerns that we raise today are with the sound levels set forth in Section 181-2.6 and the requirement that police measure sound levels for certain de facto acts of conduct set forth in Section 181-2.5B. Our concerns with this noise measurement requirement stem from the fact that we have had neighbors repeatedly commit one of the de facto acts specified in Section 181-2.5B, 9B during the quiet hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. designated by the ordinance. Specifically, they have engaged in repeated revving of their cars. In fact, the noise produced by the engine revving has been so loud that it has literally caused vibrations in our home. If permissible, I have 2 videos that I would be happy to play for the commissioners so that you can get an idea of what we've been experiencing. Is that all right?
Are we set up to do that or
Can I play it from my phone?
I don't know if everybody can see it.
Oh, it's more for the noise.
Oh, okay. You know. And just so you know, we try to limit speakers to 3 minutes, but we have a lighter crowd, so.
Okay, well, I don't have to play the whole thing. I think you'll get the general gist of it. I'll move it along so you can kind of hear. This is after 10 p.m. on a night when we have to go to work when we have people that have to go to work the next day. Okay, so that's,
And I noticed you attached a log to your letter.
yes.
Maybe 20 or 30 instances where maybe it's been reported to the police and there's been a response
Yeah, yes,
but
you can refer to the log for all the details. So I guess I'll skip the second video because it's 11 minutes long, but just for awareness. When I've been told that the revving doesn't go on long enough or it's momentary in nature, that is not at all the case. Okay? So these videos confirm that the revving of the motors takes place for longer than a momentary amount of time. Attached to our letter is a log of the incidents where our neighbor has revved his engine during quiet hours and when we have called the police to request relief. This has gone on for almost 2 years. By way of background, we are required to awake at 4:30 a.m. each morning for job obligations. Moreover, our neighbors engage in motor revving at all times of day, including outside of the quiet hours. We acknowledge their rights to engage in that conduct when necessary during non-quiet hours. We have just asked for the courtesy and respect that such conduct not take place during the township designated quiet hours. Our neighbors have been engaging in their revving for years, and we have contacted the police to try to have the conduct cease. In each circumstance, when we have alerted the police to these noise violations, however, the conduct ceased before the police arrived. Thus, there was no way for the police to measure to determine if the decibel measurement levels set forth in section 181-2.6 of the noise ordinance were exceeded. For this reason, we are here today to respectfully suggest that for the type of circumstance that we have experienced, that the intended protections of the Commission's noise ordinance are illusory. That is, the offensive noise conduct that we have experienced, namely the motor revving, ceases by the time that the police are able to arrive to measure it and thus can never be corrected. Due to the Commission's current noise measurement requirement that's in section 181-2.6 being required to apply to all prohibited acts under section 181-2.5b. The fact that the offensive engine revving of our neighbors has ceased before the police arrived for each occasion does not in any way make the conduct any less offensive to us and to our neighbors. Indeed, the fact that the revving even occurred during the quiet hours was precisely the type of conduct that the Commission's noise ordinance was intended to preclude. Please take into consideration the fact that my family's sleep is often disturbed by our neighbors' conduct from Sunday nights through Thursday nights as we get up around 4:30 a.m. so that we can arrive at work by 6 a.m. As such, we would like to respectfully suggest to the Commission that for some of the types of de facto acts of offensive noise conduct set forth in 181-2.5b, such as the engine revving that has plagued our circumstances, there is no need for the measurement of noise decibel levels set forth in section 181-2.6 to determine if a noise ordinance infraction has occurred. The plain fact that the engine revving occurred within quiet hours should, in and of itself, be enough on its face to substantiate a noise ordinance violation. Additionally, this conduct can be confirmed by the police using security camera footage or through the questioning of various neighbors near the residence where the engine revving has taken place. Stated another way, we are respectfully suggesting to the Commission that for some conduct listed in section 181.25b, such as the engine revving to which we have been subjected, the simple fact that this conduct has taken place should rise to a per se violation of the township's noise ordinance without any need for a measurement of noise decibels as set forth in section 181-2.6. Accordingly, we respectfully request that the Commission amend its noise ordinance to reflect that fact and adopt a plainly audible standard during quiet hours instead. In conclusion, we again are so grateful for the opportunity to raise our concerns to the Upper Allen Township Commission. Thank you. Thank you for the time, and I apologize for exceeding the limit.
I just wonder if the police chief or the solicitor might have a response. The police are generally are the enforcement for the ordinance, and they have the sound meters, but.
Yes, Commissioner, correct. We do have sound meters and we are in compliance with this new ordinance. We haven't used our sound meters. I don't you say we haven't used them at your residence yet because by the time we get there, it's over. We have had the chance to use our sound meters in areas where there's music playing continuously. That's the scenario or the setting where we have used those sound meters. So we can look at the ordinance and your complaints, and I can read your memo and get in touch with you to talk about it further. And maybe there's other remedies that we could take or other steps that we could take, to talk with this neighbor of yours who's causing this issue. So we'd be happy to speak to you further about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And then when we get into it, like amending an ordinance, we usually involve the solicitor to get the correct language. I'm kind of curious what evidence may be admissible. But yeah, from video cameras or I know doorbell cameras, all that kind of stuff that we have nowadays.
I mean, with the way the current ordinance is drafted, you would need to have that meter reading to get a conviction under the noise ordinance. But I mean, that can be amended, but it's always going to be a problem. I was a prosecutor before I went into private practice, and occurrences like this where it's not a continuous noise, it can be a difficulty proving that occurred in court.
Even with security camera footage.
Well, I mean, that can be used in court.
I would say the difficulty here is with the way the ordinance is during the quiet hours. So from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., unless it's where you can tell just from the audible, like the sound of how loud it is, what's the point of having quiet hours if it really doesn't make a difference for the measurement either way? You know what I mean? Because the police can't get there on time. At nighttime, I don't believe that there's as many patrol cars out. Is that true?
Well, frankly, it depends,
Right.
on what our staffing levels are, but, we always have a minimum of 2.
Right. So,
Million.
I mean, I'm happy to speak with the police and try to come up with a solution. I just don't know anything right this moment.
I mean, it's plainly so loud that a reasonable person would find it, disturbing and wake them up. And it's just that we've been constantly having to deal with this for over 2 years now, and nothing can happen because of the way the ordinance is written, that they have to be able to measure it. So what's the point of even saying there's quiet hours if no one can get there in time to measure it while it's happening, while it's going on anyway? You know what I mean? Like it really is illusory.
Yes, and I totally understand your concern, and I'm willing to work with the police to look into it
Okay, great.
further.
So, help me understand. So is this the individuals committing the noise, are they mechanics or do they have race cars that they're working on, or what precipitates the offense? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
So it's just,
I don't believe that he's a mechanic, but I couldn't tell you.
it's just kind of random activity any time of the day or the night that the person
This is I don't know how old he is, but he's definitely under 21. So he and his friends, they are often over revving cars.
okay, is the family aware of what he's doing?
Oh, yes, they are.
And have the neighbors, like, over a loaf of bread and a beer, at least talked about the situation, or is it beyond neighborly conversation?
I believe at this point it's beyond neighborly conversation.
When you're,
I did ask.
it might be kind of purposeful.
it seems like it could be to me. I can tell you that on April 22nd of 2024, I spoke to the perpetrator's dad and asked him if he would speak to his son. And he kept asking me if it was annoying. And he seemed to get enjoyment out of hearing the fact that it was. And I can tell you that one of the vehicles that this individual drives that has a very loud muffler and engine, he has a huge sticker on the back window of the vehicle that says annoying. So it's a culture, I believe, amongst the motorhead type crowd. And unfortunately, you know, all I can say is I pay a lot of taxes. The violator doesn't pay any taxes because he's a child living at home with his parents. And I feel that the fact that I pay such a substantial amount in taxes that I would like to get some relief, to be honest. I'm just looking for relief. So
Sharon, could I just ask a question of the ordinance? Does it have to be the decibel meter of the police officer in order to have a citation? The reason I ask is you can get an app on your phone for a decibel reader.
I have it.
Would that be something that she could share with the police officer, perhaps to get a citation if she has a picture of the decibel reader being above a certain number?
We could take that into consideration, but we would have to use our meter.
Okay.
Yes, it's calibrated and tested and all. So we could take that into consideration if you have that on your phone. And
So far, nothing that I have supplied to the police has provided any relief. Thank you all
Okay,
very
thank
much.
Appreciate it. We'll do it.
Jim Marshall? Did you-
Oh, he's what has been.
Okay,
I don't.
you're good. Okay, thank you. So that's it for our speakers for items not on the agenda. Oh, Jim, okay.
Jim Cochran, 384 Allison Avenue. I'd like to address another kind of noise pollution, as coincidence would have it. I attended the Planning Commission meeting Monday night, along with 3 of the commissioners were there. And I fully respect the right of individuals to express their opinion on issues before the Planning Commission, but I was embarrassed by the manner in which a couple of the people acted. And I watched the people up front being abused with really nothing being done about it. And I know it was Amanda's first time to run the Planning Commission. But people coming up here and shouting into the mic and then shouting from the back of the room and cursing between each other in the back of the room during this. And I'd just like to ask once again, which I've asked before, could we please stream the Planning Commission and stream zoning hearing so that people can see the way these people are acting? Because written minutes don't convey what happened on Monday night at all. There's no room in there to say she screamed this at Eric Fairchild. It's just so-and-so said such and such. And none of the comments from the back of the room are captured in the minutes, but they would be if it was streamed. So thank you very much for consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. I'd like to take the items separately. We have consideration approval of bills in the amount of $484,632.29. We have a motion on the bills.
Sure. I'll move we pay the bills as listed.
And I had some comments or questions.
Got a second.
Oh, second, first, second, okay. I would just say the bills, the largest category in the bills, as usual, is the cost of health insurance. This month or part of the month, it was $186,630 of this $484,000 is just for healthcare costs. I noticed that we have paid a little over $36,000 for the 2025 audit So that tells me it's probably mostly complete at this point since they've billed. And they generally issue their report, in August or September. There was an LED light upgrade, I believe, to this building in the amount of almost $28,000. And I believe that we think that's going to pay for itself in a reasonably short period of time. Is that correct, Keldine? I mean, it was this building? Okay. And then the stipend payments to the firefighters was $13,460. So I think that's one of the most effective programs we've started this year. We've improved our response time and so forth. Maybe Chief Schomburg will speak to that in the normal course of events, but that was included in the bills. So anyway.
Just out of curiosity, I note the smallest bill is $2.42 for some screws at Paul B. So we have a lot of expenditures that run the gamut. So I'm not sure why you always choose the largest ones, but there you go. Yes, a diverse.
But, and I believe Karen had a question earlier about.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman, I lied. There was actually a bolt for only $1.25. So thank you, Jed.
You're welcome.
Just teasing.
So I just wondered about the dog park internet, and maybe you talked about it before, but I don't remember hearing about it. And also I was impressed with the $16,188 payment for the snow salt and the non-skid. That's all I had. Oh,
I've noticed the internet charges before, and I believe they relate to having security cameras at some of the parks. Maybe staff can.
Yes, that is for the key fob system to enter the park and also for the security cameras.
Oh, okay. Key fobs.
We ready? Take a vote on the bills?
We have a motion and a
All
second.
those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the bills are approved to be paid. Next, we have financial security release for Elmwood Elementary School, UAT file number 18-01-02. And is Mike going to speak to this?
Yeah, the Elmwood Elementary project, they requested to have their financial security reduced to zero, and we had CS Davidson review that, and it was for soil and erosion, sedimentation control, stormwater management, the storm sewer system, street construction, and some miscellaneous charges. And our engineer has recommended that to be released.
Are they late in making this request, or it seems like the school's been maybe operating?
They are, yeah. They didn't realize that we still had this for a while, and they sent the letter to me a little bit late.
So hopefully we've earned interest on their money.
I don't believe we're allowed to do that.
Okay.
Move we authorize the proper township officials to release the financial security to the developer for Elmwood Elementary, file number 18-01-02. No improvements are to be dedicated to the township, therefore a maintenance bond is not required.
Second.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Release of the financial security is approved. Next, we have a financial security release for Modwash, Upper Allen Township file number 21-11-29. And maybe Mr.
Same situation as Elmwood. Modwash is being recommended to be reduced to zero. They've completed all the requirements, same kind of construction issues as with Elmwood Elementary.
I move to authorize the township officials to release the financial security to the developer for Modwash file 21-11-29, and no improvements are to be dedicated to the township, therefore a maintenance bond is not required.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I know the fire marshal was working with them to get a Knox box to meet the township requirements for a Knox box. And to this time, I don't think they have gone along with that yet. So that might be something I don't know if you can hold the money until they do that or.
Mhm. It seems like we should do that now or lose that leverage. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's kind of what, that's kind of where I'm at, that,
Okay,
if he hasn't got them to get the Knox box yet,
okay,
this might push them to do that.
yeah.
So do I have to rescind my motion?
Yeah.
I rescind my motion then? And then,
Is that parliamentary correct to allow them to rescind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. And thanks, Tom, for bringing that up because
That's important.
I'm not sure I can't imagine what the issue would be, but that's between our building inspector and them, I suspect, but
okay,
do you have any?
I would defer to Josh on this, but I don't believe that you can hold financial security up for an issue that isn't related to that financial security.
We're not holding up financial security. We're just choosing not to take action on the agenda before us, and I think we have every right to do that.
Yeah, again, I would
Not-
defer to Josh's opinion on that, though.
Or
When I first nodded, I wasn't sure whether this was a requirement of approval of the land development plan. I mean, I think if that was the case, then
Is it not an approval of building occupancy?
The land development plan, I don't know. It might be of the permit, for the building permit, but at this time, I don't know the answer to that.
I could well imagine it's not part of land development, but I certainly think it would be a prerequisite for a valid occupancy permit, and probably our staff issued it with good faith or the anticipation of good faith from the developer, but it appears like that's not coming. So I guess my thought, while we don't have information, and I think both our staff and solicitor are looking for clarification, then I would applaud Commissioner Overly Smith for rescinding the motion. And there's no action that I'm aware of that we must take
I
action
was going to say,
tonight.
we take no action.
So let's just,
I would agree. I mean, this can be deferred for a few weeks.
Yeah, and we can communicate side issue or whatever to them in the meantime. Okay,
okay.
good. Okay.
I mean, unless it's a valid reason, I mean, things like this is sloppy business and it just frustrates me from
And
the
it's-
information I have at the moment.
And it's important for the fire department perspective. Okay, so we will move on to our Public Safety Committee and probably the best part of our agenda tonight. We have a impending transition in the police department, and Chief Parsons will speak to what is going on, and hopefully Mr. Barnes then too. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tonight, as you can see, I have a gentleman here to my left. This is Lieutenant Brian Barnes, Upper Allen Township Police Department. And the first motion here on the agenda is something I'd like to speak to about and just say a few words about Lieutenant Barnes before the motion is taken. Just some information about Brian Barnes, who I've had the pleasure of serving 21 years with in law enforcement. Prior to being hired at Upper Allen, Brian was a student at Messiah College, and while enrolled there, began his service as a volunteer firefighter with the Upper Allen Township Fire Department. And in fact, he still serves in that capacity today. Shortly after graduating from Messiah College, Lieutenant Barnes was hired by Upper Allen Police in 2005 as a patrol officer. As a patrol officer, he proved himself to be a dedicated and reliable officer on the street who treated people he encountered with respect and empathy. After spending time in patrol, Officer Barnes was selected to move into the detective's position within the department, where he used his skills to conduct thorough and in-depth investigations. Everyone took notice of Detective Barnes' ability to problem solve and to use his skills and knowledge with technology to meet the changing landscape of criminal investigations, which then more and more included computers and cell phones. Detective Barnes was promoted to the position of Detective Sergeant, subsequently, where he had supervised 2 other detectives and oversaw and directed the investigation of hundreds of incidents. Detective Sergeant Barnes has experience in supervising others and motivating those he supervises to excel and reach their full potential. In 2020, as Detective Sergeant, he was the lead investigator on the first homicide investigation in the township in over 40 years, which led to a prosecution. In 2021, Detective Sergeant Barnes was promoted to the position of lieutenant. In this capacity, he has participated in many vital aspects of the administration of the police department. Lieutenant Barnes has become experienced and participated firsthand in the budget process, scheduling, hiring new officers, personnel matters, and managing police equipment and vehicles. Lieutenant Barnes was instrumental in achieving the latest accreditation approval, which gained the department the designation of premier status. He constantly updates and improves our department policies to ensure we are meeting the mark of providing the most professional law enforcement service to the citizens of Upper Allen Township. Lieutenant Barnes is highly respected and regarded in the law enforcement community and here in the township. He never hesitates to offer his help and advice to any person he works with. His dedication and work ethic are truly admirable, and I believe it is those qualities, along with his unique skills and specialties, which take this police department to the next level. Lieutenant Barnes is prepared and fully capable of being the chief of police for Upper Allen Township. I would like to thank the Board of Commissioners for the consideration of the first item on the agenda under public safety and respectfully ask that the board take action on naming Lieutenant Brian Barnes as acting chief in my absence and to appoint Lieutenant Brian Barnes as chief of police at the end of my participation in the deferred retirement program. Thank you.
I'd just like to applaud that introduction and that message, Chief Parsons. And just so everyone knows, we love Chief Parsons and we're not kicking him out, nor do we are sad to see him go, but he's part of the DROP program and so is required to submit his resignation or his retirement no later than I think November of this year. I'd like to commend the board for being proactive because normally we would advertise the position and go and hire a consultant to find someone perhaps and or go on a wide search. But when you have someone within the department that has operated with distinction and professionalism, why spend that time and money when we have someone right here at our doorsteps? And so I think by this board taking action now, there is certainty amongst the department of what's happening next. There's an overlap between Chief Parsons and Lieutenant Barnes in terms of handling the transition of administration and personnel. And I've known this guy since I worked at Messiah College and he was a student and I was still only a couple of years ago, but you know, I saw Brian progress as a student, then becoming an officer and going through the ranks as you have indicated. And I think you've been not only a good professional, but you've also been a genuine human being and one that cares about his community and his family. And so I just want to applaud this step if we take affirmative action. May I make a motion?
No, you.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Karen. I'd like to move to name Lieutenant Brian Barnes as acting chief in Chief Andrew Parsons' absence and declare intent to appoint Brian Barnes as chief of police at the end of Chief Parsons' participation in the DROP program.
I second.
I would like to echo Ken's remarks. It's hard to top that, your knowledge of Brian and experience, but in my 2 years on the board, it's just been wonderful to know you. And Jim has his hand up, but Richard Daniel had signed up to speak first. Okay. Okay. Oh, all right. So you get the floor again, Jim.
Thank you, Jim Cochran, 3 Carlson Avenue. I just want to add to that. I've known Brian since he was the IT director at Hamilton Musser and a college student. And I think we ought to mention too that with Brian and Ryan Parthmore on the force, we ended up being a resource for the Pennsylvania State Police because the capabilities they possessed in computer crime detection, the state police recognized and often came to us to use their talents. So I'm really, really pleased that I've known Brian for so long and he's done so well. And I congratulate you on your choice.
Thanks for Jim for mentioning that.
All righty. We ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. But maybe Brian would like to say something. I would remind you, it is April Fool's Day, but, yeah, I know.
We won't
He can
change, we
take
won't
it.
change the motion.
I'm just incredibly grateful for the board's unanimous support. But honestly, this Upper Allen's a special place. And I remember this question in my interviews. It's a panel of other chiefs, and I probably offended some of them, but they said, "Why do you want to work at Upper Allen?" I said, "I only want to work at Upper Allen." And, but Upper Allen's a special place, not because of anything that I've done or Chief has done, but it's the people that we have working for us. They are true dedicated professionals. They put their lives on the line. I saw that this past weekend, where they stood and held a perimeter with a gunman and held that perimeter to protect the public. So I'm very proud of our organization. I'm proud of the people we work with, and it's a real honor to be able to just continue to work alongside them. So thank you for your confidence in me.
Congratulations. So part B of this motion is to ask Upper Allen Police Civil Service Commission to conduct an examination process to fill the pending vacancies of lieutenant and sergeant when Lieutenant Barnes assumes the position of chief of police. Do you wish to speak to that too, Andy, or?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Obviously, with the vote you just took, this creates a vacancy when I leave for lieutenant. Subsequently, a sergeant will be promoted to lieutenant, and a patrol officer or detective will be promoted to sergeant. The board has to give permission or ask the Police Civil Service Commission to start that process, which I'd like to do soon. So that's what this motion has to deal with, and I appreciate the support.
Okay, I so move.
Second.
We need any more discussion? Is there any public comment on this issue? Okay, hearing none. Are we, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries to direct the Civil Service Commission to conduct an examination process. Right. Do you wish to report on anything, Chief Parsons, in terms of public
No,
safety?
nothing additional. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and Mr. Tom Schaumburger for the Fire Department.
Wow, how do I follow that, huh?
Yeah.
Just to let everybody know, the fire department has a new website coming up Friday at noon. Big switch over. The old website was a few years old, so we're freshening up a bit. It's going to be a whole new look. Hopefully it'll work out well. Our fund drive's winding down to the end, so if you haven't donated yet, please do. The other thing is, we'll be out at the baseball and softball openings this month. So stop by, see the fire truck. And for Commissioner Martin, barbecues are starting May 2nd.
Thank you.
So be prepared.
They like sell out at 10 a.m. or some like
If we can.
actual hour.
Are they over at Country in Town again?
Yeah, I believe that's where they'll be again. Yep. The first one always sells out really quick, so
Yes, it does.
be there early.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have planning and zoning and a discussion of the zoning hearing board cases scheduled for April the 9th. The first one is case number 26-01, 381 Cumberland Parkway. Would you just give us some background on that, Mike?
Yep, 381 Cumberland Parkway. It's the new hotel going up over near Cracker Barrel and the Spark Hotel. They are permitted 2 signs by right, and they want to have 5 total signs. So they're asking for 3 more signs to cover every face of their building. So that would be the first case. And this was going to be heard last month, but we didn't have a meeting last month, so it's been continued. It's pushed up to the April meeting instead.
Thank you. And then we have case 26-02. It is for 824 Grantham Road.
This is in the Village District, and they're trying to subdivide, consolidate lots down there so they can build on one of the rear lots that they own. This would make the lot exceed the 12,000 square foot maximum allowed in the Village District, as well as there would be some cleanup that they need a variance for because they have structures that exist on that lot that currently cross into setbacks, and they need to get the variances for those.
And then we have case 26-03, which is 311 Pennington Drive.
The property owners wish to build a pool complex as well as put some impervious coverage in an existing deck area. They would exceed the impervious coverage to 37.7%, where 30% is a maximum allowed. So they need a variance to be able to do that. If they don't get the variance, then they can't have their permits approved.
Thank you.
Is this an existing structure that they're adding onto, or is this a proposed new structure?
The home already exists there, but they wanted to add a pool and add some impervious area to an existing deck. And the deck is currently considered pervious because it can filter down to the ground, but they want to put, concrete underneath it.
Private, single family home?
Yes.
Okay, I was thrown by the owner. It appears to be a business, but it's not. Okay.
Yeah, Aquavisions is just the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're the contractor doing
Yes.
the work. Oh, thank you.
I don't know if the solicitor is going to cover this in your update, but the township has an appeal of a previous zoning hearing board decision on 1206 South Market Street. So we have an appeal with Cumberland County Court. I know the solicitor has filed legal briefs, and isn't that hearing coming up soon?
It is, the date is escaping me at the moment.
I thought
think it's
April 4th or something.
No, it's not that soon. It's more
Okay.
like, it's the end of April.
Okay. But it is upcoming, and it would be an educational process for at least some of the commissioners to attend. And
But there will be an argument in front of Judge Smith with the Cumberland County Court of Common Pleas. And I'll be arguing for the township. The zoning hearing board solicitor will defend their decision, and then the applicant, MF Maplewood, will also participate, and also the attorney for the residents of the Webercroft neighborhood.
right.
They're all
I
getting.
just said that the Webercroft neighbors have also filed an appeal. Karen just reminded me it's Tuesday, April the 28th at 1 p.m. Does that
Sounds right to me.
So, okay, so that is a motion. So next we have the Public Improvement Committee. We have any reports in that area?
No report.
Okay. Sanitary sewer system?
No report.
Reports. Administrative Committee, we have item 6A, adoption of a resolution for the 2026 agreement for the Mechanicsburg swimming pool.
If I could give some background.
Sure.
So adopted in July of 2007, ordinance number 640 for the intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the Mechanicsburg Municipal Swimming Pool. And that's with the Mechanicsburg Borough, was adopted for a 20-year period and acknowledging annual payments which began in 2005. Ordinance 640 references an agreement between the borough and the township at the cost of the township of $50,000 per year, offering a benefit to Upper Island Township residents to have the opportunity to join Mechanicsburg Borough Pool at a discounted membership rate equal to the fee structure available to their own residents in the borough, and to cover the costs of operations of the facility. I met with Upper Island Township Commissioner liaisons, the Upper Island Township Parks Director, Upper Island Township Parks and Rec Committee Director, and Mechanicsburg Borough Manager, Parks Director, and Council President to discuss a possible one-year extension. An official joint meeting is to be scheduled for both entities for both the township and the borough that would take place in April, June, and September of 2026 to discuss current year operations, infrastructure, and a proposed long-term arrangement for both parties. Upper Ellen Township Commissioners and Mechanicsburg Borough Council to consider. They would draft it. The one-year extension was approved by Mechanicsburg Borough on March 17th and is before you this evening for your consideration.
We have a motion on approving the pool agreement.
I move to approve a one-year extension of the previous Mechanicsburg Pool Cooperation Agreement of the 2026 season with a one-time payment of $50,000 to Mechanicsburg Borough by May 1st, 2026.
Second.
Any other
Yeah,
discussion?
I've been around for much of the discussion, and this has been ongoing. And in one sense, I like it because Mechanicsburg has a pool and not every municipality needs to have a pool. And I think the intent was well molded that we could use it because Mechanicsburg and Upper Allen are neighbors and we're in the same school district, et cetera. Administratively, a couple of things fell down because they were to give us financial reports on an annual basis and do joint planning, and those meetings didn't occur and we didn't get the forms. And shame on us, I guess, for the past boards that we asked for it, but we didn't insist on it. And I was part of that board, perhaps we should have. But now so I think the request is to go one more year and see if we can get a resolution and an operating agreement that makes sense. I know that there's some new rec personnel running the pool in the borough. We have a new mayor and some of the council members changed. So I guess to pull the plug on April 1st for swimming that starts, next month or something, seems a little bit disingenuous, even though I think we would have every right not to by the letter of the original contract. I think it's only good decency that we consider extending it a year, but then communicate again that, we need to see something different and we have expectations if we're going to continue it after that. So I'm very supportive of the motion with that caveat that I think Mechanicsburg didn't always live up to the agreement, but perhaps we didn't always insist on the terms either. So let's give it one more whirl.
Right, and I would add some of this is for the benefit of Jennifer and Karen, who came on to our board. We did look at this agreement, I guess, in August and September of last year. The prior board, we had a tour of the pool with the manager and people from our Parks Department and Park and Rec Committee, and financial information was provided through Chad Krebs. And, the pool needs, I think, reinvestment and marketing effort, going forward. And, once we get past this year to determine, what level of participation we want to be involved with there. I don't think it's a hopeless situation by any means. It serves a need in the community. I'm for having different options for the children, whether it's sports or pools or arts and crafts, just to have that wide array of rec programs. This fits into that. I grew up using the West Shore YMCA pool and loved it as a child. And I think that hopefully that element of society and having access to a pool is important. I think the leader probably in this area is the Hampton pool that's been, renovated. They're at a higher price level. I think we should stay under whatever Hampton is charging in general. I noticed driving by the Hampton Township building last summer says, "Stay cool, get your pool pass here." So it seemed like we could put a similar message on our digital billboard and perhaps support, getting more memberships out of Upper Allen. We do, I think Upper Allen and Mechanicsburg Borough are both at 38% of the usage of the pool. And then Silver Spring picks up some. There are some day pass individuals that utilize the pool. So anyway, it's a larger issue. It reminds me of a case study, like in college, like what do you do with this tired old business to rehabilitate it? And I think there's opportunities probably in freshening the facility, the concession arrangements, just even the programming of the lifeguards that are hired, maybe, utilizing more cameras to watch the pool, so forth. So I think there's different avenues, options that could be considered. So anyway, there were several people that wanted to speak on this as public comment. And I think you signed up first, Jeff, regarding the pool.
Evening, Jeff Williams, 334 East Meadow Drive. I support the extension for 1 year. I support I was on the tour of the facility. My wife and I do have a lot of aquatics background way back in the day when I could fit in the swimsuits. And I've trained over 1,000 hours of advanced life saving. It's not funny. First, I would say that the pool is managed well, not by the borough, but Mechanicsburg Recreation. Even though there's a new director, I've watched that for years, and it's very well done. The guards are excellent. Every time we go by, Carmen and I, we're looking for dead spots in the water. What are the guards not watching? So I think the management of the pool is excellent. The last thing I'd say, without wandering into some of the other stuff I was going to talk about, is please, whatever agreements you come up with, hold the borough accountable. They have been miserable, and I have talked to prior staff that operated the pool and folks not following through on any part of their agreement. It's not free money. It is important, by the way, for water safety. We have a lot of kids that need swim lessons, and they're not with the school system. They don't take it at the high school. They might be homeschooled or private schooled. Kids need to be water safe. It's a big thing with me. I grew up sailing on the San Francisco Bay. By the time I was 9, my father demanded that we not just could swim, but were excellent. And I'm seeing a lack of that just everywhere. And that pool does provide that. And that's something people don't talk about. So I support it for extending a year, but hold their feet to the fire, please. Thank you.
Jeff, thanks for raising the issue about the training.
Oh, sure.
To learn how to swim. I mean, where else are kids going to get that?
Yeah.
So. Anybody else wish to speak to the pool issue? Is this your third time?
Third time.
Okay.
Third charge.
Well, and I was way under my first 2 times, so I expect to be.
Yeah.
So I'm the father of the agreement. I wrote that agreement with John McDermott. John was a councilman, came to the township and said, without help from the township, the pool's going to close. We're in a place where we can't afford to put any money into it. It needs repairs, and we'll close the pool. So I was assigned to work with John to come up with the agreement, and we did. We came up with the agreement that's been mentioned. There was one thing we had to do, and that was pay $50,000 a year. There were 3 things the borough had to do. One was grant our citizens the same reduced rate as a township citizen, which they did. The second was at the end of every fiscal year to give us a report, which they never did for 20 years, and which we asked for at least 10. And they have an excuse that they had some very poor borough managers, but my conversations were not with borough managers. They were with people currently on the borough council. Kyle Miller, who's currently the president, guaranteed we'd get this, and we didn't. And no one had a stomach to break the agreement and have them say the pool's going under because we're breaking the agreement because they didn't do what they're supposed to. The third part was they were supposed to have a joint committee, 3 members from them, 2 members from us, to decide on all possible capital improvements. They did capital improvements. There was no committee. They never asked us, and we never learned about it until it was done. So they didn't keep any part of their bargain. We kept every part of our bargain. And I don't have 2025 numbers, perhaps you do, but I have 2024 numbers. And when you look at their numbers, they're in a death spiral. their staffing costs have gone up 50% since 2022. They were 106,000 in 2022, and they're $146,500 in 2024. Who knows what they are in 2025? And contrary to, well, not contrary, but just to put a fine edge to what Commissioner Fairchild said, they're constrained because Hampton, they're $1 less than Hampton in many categories, $2 or $3 in a couple categories. They can't raise their rates because if they do, people will stop and they'll go to Hampton because there's more amenities in Hampton. And it's a newer pool. So they can't raise their rates. If you go back and look at the financials, it's the Upper Island taxpayers that have kept this pool afloat because Mechanicsburg Borough is not putting taxpayer money into this. So you're putting our taxpayer money into it, but you can't find anywhere that they're putting their taxpayer money into it. I don't think that's fair. I think we need a full disclosure on the amounts. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to approve this tonight. I know you are. It's a done deal. And next year, an election year, they're going to come back and they're going to have a plan for $2.5 million to improve the pool. And if you don't approve it, the pool will close. And what are you going to do? We've seen the plans. We walked the pool area. That's my 3 minutes, but I have time left from the other ones. So we've walked the pool area. It's a minimum of $500,000 and a maximum of $2.5 million. And they'll do it next year. And they don't have the money to do it. You know that. I know that. They're not putting money into it now. We're keeping it. We have 37% of the enrollees and we're covering 49% of the expenses. It's not fair to the taxpayers.
Jim, I believe you have the 2024 numbers. We did get
Yes.
financial.
Okay, well, I'm going up to 24. So if you want to share the 25, I'd appreciate it.
No, we don't have 25 yet.
Okay.
I don't,
Well, I was going
Unless-
up to 24.
it was 24. And then it does show up in their budget.
And I do think that there is some funding, there are changes being made to the pool pass costs at Mechanicsburg and in Hampton. So it'll be interesting to see how those, there will be changes made to the pool pass costs this year. They're changing the structure. I don't have the details on that, but that was briefly mentioned. And I believe Hampton is also changing there. So it'll be interesting to see how the two compare. And while I understand what you're saying and don't like being backed into something, I do think that for those families who benefit from a lower cost pool option, this isn't the right time to cut that for them.
It's okay. Three-person.
But you yourself just showed the financials. And if we cut our money, you said it yourself,
Yep.
the pool closes.
No, they're going to have to do their borough money.
There's there's a limit to how much. And we're all using it. And you could say the same about the schools, right? But we're all using it and we're all benefiting from it.
We are a third of the ones.
But Jim, it is in their budget. I don't understand why you say they're not contributing there.
There were years when the only thing that
Wait, it's not fair to the recording of this conversation.
I'm sorry.
you go back and look at their financials, there were years when their total contribution was $50,000. That was the money they got from us. They weren't putting any of their municipal funds in. They were putting our money in. That's what keeping the pool going.
And knowing that this bothered you so much, why didn't you do anything about it when
I
you were
did.
on the board?
I did. I went to members of their board several times. We've had discussions about it in the back room. I couldn't get anyone to support where I wanted to go. I wanted to terminate the agreement. We were not being treated fairly.
And you're terminating the pool.
No, I'm not
By your
terminating.
own-
I'm telling them they need
you
to put more money.
characterize it as a death spiral.
We could pay for our people to go there and have them reimburse them the difference and still spend $30,000 less. I find it amazing that a board who's afraid to finish trails in Upper Allen Township because of the cost commitment is willing to spend $1 million or $2 million.
To finish trails. I don't think that anyone is afraid to finish trails.
Well,
I think that we've discussed the cost associated with the trails and they are much higher than $50,000.
I'm talking $1 million to $2 million to finish that pool, and that's where you're going. I'll be back in a year to say I told you so.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. All right, we ready to move forward? All those in favor of approving the pool agreement?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. To approve the pool agreement. Next, we have radio purchase for Public Works Department. and this was late to our agenda and may not be familiar to some of the public, so.
Okay, so the successful transition to the radio system for the police and fire was to, the last part of that was to allow some of their older radios to be repurposed for our Public Works Department. And unfortunately, the way communications work, that they're not communicating. So here we are with, unfortunately, the technology that will not work with emergency services and will not communicate even within the department for when they're out on the road in the field. And so in an emergency in particular, we would not have enough radios available for each vehicle. And that's all we're looking for, is just for each vehicle. For all the public works crews in the field, infrastructure issues, road closures, evacuations, power utility communications would be limited if the employee could only use their cell phones. And often in an emergency, cell phone service may be compromised, hard to hear, difficult to send group texts, and in a timely manner. Additionally, the prohibited use of handheld cell phones for texting and calls while driving would cause delays, as they would need to pull off the road if as available, if it's off-road space. Therefore, radio communications is important for the Public Works Department, not only for day-to-day operations, but in an emergency especially. There are funds available. This was not a budgeted item because we did not plan to purchase new radios for the Public Works Department, but there is funds in a line item specifically for Public Works radio liability account. And it does exceed the amount needed by the estimate. So we have Motorola Solutions provided the cost estimate of $48,852 for the purchase, programming, and installation of 10 radios to complete the coverage needed for Public Works Department for optimal safety for our employees and service to the public.
That seems like a very specific line item. Did we do this because we thought there may be a problem with the new radios? Or I'm just trying to
We did
understand
have
why
those
that.
funds put aside for the purpose of radios because they are a significant tool for the employees. But apparently it wasn't put into the budget because then we were under the impression that we would be repurposing the old ones. So we didn't need to buy them new, and that was the understanding at that time. However, it didn't work out that way. So here we are.
And it might have been, we had put some, or we were anticipating some expenditures when we went to the P25 system with the county. And so maybe it was some money that was earmarked during that whole process as well.
Early on, yes. Thank you.
The reason I'm asking is because I'm wondering if there's a need to then backfill that line item once we pull nearly all of it out.
I believe as he indicated, that was initially put there with believing that that would need to be purchased initially. Then it was taken out of the budget because of the redirect.
Okay.
But good question.
Okay.
I'm curious what other money is set aside, like the 30 would be the capital reserve account is where this
I'm
was
sorry,
coming.
in capital reserve?
Isn't that's account 30, I believe.
Oh, this is, yeah, okay. I'm not sure the question. So 60,000 is there for
I mean,
this.
we have a budget, but having a liability account, I haven't seen that in total. You know, for capital reserve.
I was just given this one line item for this from our finance department. So any questions outside of the radios, I do not have an answer for you at this time.
Okay, well, we can get that.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
So it's like almost $50,000 for 10 radios. And what will they do? They will be mounted on the dashboard. Will this improve like our ability to like Public Works it could be first on the scene at an emergency if need be?
Well, I'm sure that the police could speak to the need to communicate with the Public Works departments in various scenarios, and vice versa, that the Public Works would be aware of situations that may need assistance from.
Well, And even amongst their own vehicles, when there's a road closure or a flood or something like that, you might have some trucks going in from one side of the crisis point and others, and they can communicate across the closed road or the flood or different parts of the township. So I think to have it per truck makes sense to me rather than to have it with every, I'm not sure every employee has to have one, but you should have one in every truck, I think. I doubt whether it's, I don't know this, Eric, but I doubt whether it's permanently installed. It may have a jacket where you could put it, but there'd be times when you get out of the truck, you'd want to take the radio with you, I would think. I don't know though, go ahead.
From a police perspective, I could say that especially in snow emergencies, we work closely with Public Works. They will often, in times of heavy snow, they will accompany us on emergency calls to make sure that there's a clear path for emergency vehicles to go to those incidents. So that's just one example, but they often will, even during, normal operations, will radio our officers if there's an issue with, traffic control or, a unsafe road condition that our officers need to know about. So it is something I can tell you that we've missed since transitioning to the radio system and have not been able to communicate with them.
So it would offer permanent install mobile units in each truck, and also the handheld units for traffic control and other scenarios. So it's various mounting, wires, et cetera, programming, licensing, and all of the things that go along with the actual radio itself.
So it is permanently mounted in the truck. That's the way I read it.
And it's a mix, it's a combination, and yes, you can take them out of the truck or you can use them in the truck. So there's different ones, I believe, for that, but yes. But permanent install, the mobile unit. Yes.
So it's like a phone. It's that size. I envisioned something larger.
I do not have a sample here today. I'm sorry that I'm not really familiar with exactly what it will look like.
I'm not sure what model they ordered, but if it's similar to what we purchased, if you picture like a trucker CB radio with like a small box and a handheld microphone, that's what.
APX 1500. I think that's the first line item.
I do see that now. I'm not familiar with that model number. That is different, but.
Well, I have confidence that Public Works and Motorola and our staff have looked at it, so I'm not going to, I'll take their word that it's the right size radio, but I would move to purchase 10 mobile radios programmed and installed by Public Works Department at a total cost not to exceed $48,852 from the funds in the Public Works radio liability accounts.
Second.
One remaining question: is the Parks Department going to ask for these radios next month? I mean, if we decided we have 10 is enough for us as a township and the trucks that we operate during emergencies, that we're satisfied?
Yes, there's been no indication for that. If that is something that they would like to request in the future, you can expect it at the budget meetings.
Great.
I'm sorry, it's my understanding also Parks does have some
I
already.
thought they have some radios.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Looks like we are buying radios. Next, as item 6C, we have confirmation of Michelle Mixel as Community Development Director.
So Michelle Mixel is extremely qualified and will bring a wealth of skills and knowledge through her experience in her career. Her background includes over 20 years of planning and planning and community development experience in both the private and public sectors. Creating and implementing comprehensive plans, strategic plans, corridor studies, area plans, and zoning. She does have experience. We've talked to her, had many conversations with her. She has met with not only the myself, the commissioner, and the staff, She will be, she has given her notice at her current position and has accepted the conditional offer and would start April 20th.
And I believe I understand she's originally from Mechanicsburg.
She is
Okay.
moving back home, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I believe the credential attached to her name is AICPA.
I don't have it in front of me.
Right.
There's quite a few letters behind her name,
It's the same letter.
but she does have
Yeah.
impressive certification.
It's the
Yeah.
same letters Mr. Stoner of the county has behind his.
I do believe she will be a very good fit for the team in community development.
Any other board discussion? We have a motion?
I motion to
Okay.
confirm the hiring of Michelle Mixel as the Community Development Director of Upper Allen Township effective Monday, April 20th, 2026.
Second.
I forgot to ask for the public knowledge what her salary is going to be. Not to take you offhand, but 120,000, something like that.
Don't have that number on me right now. I was not prepared to announce that item.
Okay. I think it's in that range.
It's in that executive hiring range.
Right. Anyway, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye, okay. Looks like Ms. Mixel
Thank
is
you.
hired. Okay. So do we have any report on Park and Recreation?
There is a Birdtown Committee meeting next Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. It is also available to be joined via Zoom. We have a number of upcoming events, so check it out on the Birdtown page on the website.
Okay.
They're all up there.
Okay, Mr. Williams has his hand up.
Jeff Williams, 334 East Meadow Drive. Two things. Last Thursday night, Parks Director Chad Krebs and Assistant Director Eddie Mera received their third consecutive Excellence in Parks and Recreation Award from the Pennsylvania Record and Park Society. Personally, I'd like to see them hang all those plaques somewhere in the township building, but that's just my personal opinion. Secondly, I'd like to remind everyone that April is National Autism Month, and that our park system was the first in Pennsylvania to have all our parks certified as autism centers. And I think that's excellent work on staff and support by the board. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, before you go, I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
I was going through minutes and realized that we had someone come speak before us maybe 2 meetings ago about the mural at the Winding Hill.
Well, the concession
The
stand.
concession stand.
Park, yeah.
Is there any update on that?
I have not heard anything.
Okay,
We have a meeting the end of this month. That was Jim Salter
yeah,
from softball
okay.
and was involving the Mechanicsburg High School folks, I believe.
Yeah, I thought their opening day was coming up here in the next couple of weeks, so I.
It is within the
expect-
next 2 weeks, baseball and softball.
And they were going to, I know their aim was to have it completed by opening day. And one of the conditions was that Mr. Salter share the rendering with staff before it's up. So I don't know if he's done that. If he hasn't, then I imagine that means they haven't painted it yet, but
We shall see.
Our board hasn't heard anything, but
Yeah.
we didn't meet last month, so.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
sorry.
if anybody,
No answer.
if anybody's a friend of softball, you ought to remind him.
Y'all should go to opening day for both. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I had another comment on Parks and Rec. On March 26th, Ms. Caldine and Miss Alexis were at Messiah Village to talk about the parks and the Birdtown recognition. And there's a lot of ornithologists that are retired that live there and that were connected to the Messiah Universities.
Please.
What's an ornithologist?
Oh.
It's a big word.
Yeah, well, they
So like,
study birds and they're fancy bird watchers. Yes. Yes.
Are
So-
bird watchers ornithologists?
No, bird watchers aren't ornithologists. There's some that are higher level bird
Oh,
watchers.
you know birds.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you an ornithologist, Alexis? I bet you aspire to be one though.
So they really appreciated the presentation from Upper Island Township and the opportunity to hear about the parks. And you might think that everybody already knows about it, but it's new again. You have different ears and they're like, what? We have all these parks and all these activities that we can do. So they appreciated that. And also the bird town things, and the ornithologists were going crazy over that. I don't know if they talked to you about it afterwards, but they did to me. Like, so thank you so much for your presentations.
If anybody has ever watched The Birds, a 1963 movie, they're in the restaurant and Mrs. Bundy comes up. They're ready to be attacked by the birds, and she says she is an ornithologist. That's her avocation. So it's out there. But anyway, so we have a solicitor update.
No update beyond what we discussed earlier.
And the stormwater case is still undecided.
Correct.
It's like the longest undecided case in Pennsylvania Supreme Court history, or what?
I've had cases that take 2 years to get a decision after argument.
Okay.
So I don't think they're pushing that yet.
Yep. Okay. Tax Collection Committee update.
No report.
Okay. Capital Region COG update.
We have our delegates meeting on Monday, April 20th, and so all are invited to attend. That's over at Hampton Township.
Okay. Municipal Advisory Board
No
update.
report.
No report.
Their next meeting is April the 29th.
Okay, thank you. Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners update.
No report.
No report. Okay.
I have an announcement.
Okay.
I was just going to mention that I think it was this past Friday night or recently, York County Planning Department had a forum for their municipalities on data centers and what's involved in the ordinance, et cetera. So Keldina and I both attended that. It's sad when you have to go to a meeting on a Friday night, but I was just so committed, Mr. Chairman. But anyway, it was a really informative meeting, and to hear the various municipalities talk about the things to be concerned about, with location and transportation and power and all the other things, and the pros and the cons, and recognizing that it's something we have to deal with because they aren't going to go away. And so where to properly put them and have the least offensive outcome was, it was really a good meeting. And we're having one here in Cumberland County. I think we got an email on that, a Zoom meeting later in April.
I believe that's April 29th as well, in the evening.
Thank you, Ken. Yes.
Is there?
It's time for other public comment, so you may come back up, speak if you wish, or
Is there a proposed data center for Cumberland County to be built?
I believe there has been discussion about that. Yes, over near Carlisle, and is it Middlesex?
Middlesex Township. It's been
But
approved.
nothing in up around there. Or
Thank God.
Right. Yeah. So planning and zoning and so forth is working on ordinance.
But just FYI, we are taking in the information and trying to learn as much as we can about that, because I would not be surprised if we would result in having an ordinance in our township that would help. We can't necessarily preclude them, but at least help direct and consider some of the implications going forward, because we don't want to be caught ill-prepared.
We have any other public comment? Okay, hearing none. I would call for an executive session to talk about a couple legal issues and a real estate matter. Thank you. Thanks for everybody for coming out.